couldn't either. Nathan, like, just hell yeah, brother. Yeah, yeah.
You know what?
Just, wow.
You try not to let the occasion get to you, but I'm absolutely buzzing. I'm still like, I feel like my hands are still shaking just from like, gripping a table last night.
Yeah, me too. And we got a jam-packed show today. Of course, we're going
Mm.
to talk about last night's game and just incredible theater as well. But first of all, there was a game on the weekend. The Whitecaps played St. Louis City SC in a game where it was sloppy, and it's not an excuse, but rain was a big factor, or a wet pitch rather.
Yeah, so this game, Whitecaps are out to St. Louis. Always a good venue. Kind of considered soccer city of the United States. But right from the
Kind of.
get-go, this game seemed, I don't want to say disjointed, but I'm struggling to find a better word to describe it. And that doesn't go just for the Whitecaps. It kind of went for both sides.
Yeah, because both sides were not really completing passes, a lot of giveaways, and then you could tell that the pitch was wet because players were slipping and sliding like they were at a water park.
Yeah.
But sure could have been more for the Whitecaps, but a road point is a road point. Like, there were a lot of fouls and yellow cards. Pretty physical game too, chippy game.
This was one
Uh,
of the most foul-heavy games for the Whitecaps this season right now. 18 fouls to St. Louis's 8. Normally, I was kind of curious, so I went back and looked at previous matches. Usually fouls are quite even. They're within one or two of each other, whoever's playing. This one was by far and away heavily in favor of St. Louis in being able to kind of play their game a little bit more. Whitecaps were definitely frustrated with the number of fouls. Not only that, but we had 11 yellow cards in the game. This was a game that wasn't only just stop-start because of the weather or because of previous weather, but, I mean, you got to say the referee had a hand in this one as well.
yeah, the cards were going out like left, right, center. Like, yeah, you get a card. You get a card. Everyone gets a card.
Yeah.
And but got to give credit to the goalkeepers, Lunt for St. Louis and Yoi Takaoka for the Whitecaps. Both came up big when needed. Sure, the Whitecaps, I think they got better in the second half. But there was still a bit, of disjointedness. Final third wasn't the best. Like, Brian White had a good chance, but wasn't the greatest in the end, rather, and kind of missed the net. But also the ref, was a story in this game, and especially at the end there, like, that was just weird. So Blackman was ready for the throw in, and then the ref ends the game.
Yeah, it was an odd, especially because also extra time hadn't really ended yet. Like, it felt like it was definitely felt premature. I don't know, maybe he had an appointment that could play into it, right? And
at
fair, you got to get
9:30 at night.
Go to the dentist or something. I'm not
entirely at 9:30 at night.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah. But you know what? This is just one of those games where it happens. You kind of put it behind you, and you just kind of get on with it. It's a road game, which, I mean, they're still undefeated on the road in MLS, which is nice.
Very nice.
And they just
imagine saying that a few years ago.
Yeah, and the other thing is also it's a clean sheet. So Takioka is racking those up like crazy as well.
Yeah, and he's got a good defense in front of him. And I will say, though, the midfield was getting pressed a lot by St. Louis, and the Whitecaps had to adapt to that, and they slowly did. And someone who I thought really stood out coming off the bench, Ralph Priso. He was just winning ball after ball, and he made that big pass to White, which White unfortunately couldn't finish as well.
Yeah, Priso is a player that I've actually been marginally impressed with since he's come over. When he was coming over, I talked to someone out of Colorado just to figure out, okay, what sort of guy we're getting. And the read from Colorado on Priso is that this is a very, very athletic player that doesn't necessarily have the technical skill to really progress any further in the game. I think we've seen a little bit of a different Ralph Priso, or at least maybe a bit more of a mature Ralph Priso. We can even talk about him coming in the game last night and how well he did, stepping into those shoes as well. I think he is not only a very good bench option, but he can fit into the rotation when you need to give a Sebastian Berhalter a break, when you need to give an Andreas Kubas a break. You pick and choose your games where you can do that. He is a guy that can take that spot. And it's nice. It's nice to have that level of depth. He's not a starter on this team. Not when you have Kubas in front of him. But
you're not benching on these Kubas.
You can feel fairly comfortable with.
Yes. And let's talk about last night. Inter Miami came to town. A lot of fanfare regarding that Lionel Messi guy. And, it was I got there extra early yesterday.
You were there before me.
Yeah. Actually, I wasn't the first. Ben Steiner was the first media member.
That's rare.
And had a little issue picking up my credential, but a little neck tilting helped. I won't get into that too much, but a lot of fanfare, big crowd, and for warm-ups, you can feel the atmosphere. And when Messi came on during warm-ups, you could feel the aura that he brought.
It was. You had the boos when he first came on because you're coming through the tunnel right by the Southsiders and the supporters groups. You had the cheers from other parts of the stadium, of individuals wearing pink or black and, wanting to see a player that's going to be very, very rare in their lifetime.
Yeah. And, Messi was waving to the crowd during warm-ups. And just, I was still processing like, oh my God, that's the actual Lionel Messi, not some impersonator. That's actually him right in front of me. Well, not right, but in BC Place.
I mean, it was cool. I've never been one to really get caught up on the individual. I mean, for me, it's always about the team that's in front of you. Yep. He is a very big part of that team, and we saw it last night because he was one of the only players, I would have to argue, on Inter Miami that was ever present.
Yeah.
That was visible.
And he got the boos from the Vancouver crowd, but the same people when Don Andrews announced his name, number 10, Lionel Messi, all cheers.
Yeah, I don't think people got the memo of, what supporters do and when they do it.
Yeah, but right from the get-go, Miami was controlling the game, and the Whitecaps had to adapt. And they knew right away that their controlled possession-based play was not going to work against Inter Miami. So, plan B, counterattacking, transitions, and pressing.
Talked to Jesper Sorensen about this after the match, and he said that it wasn't actually the game plan to do this. They were going into this match fully ready to play their possession-based high-press game that, they're used to playing. But their ability to adapt on the fly, understand what this game's going to mean, and how they're going to have to play it, felt seamless, right?
Yeah, right.
I would say
Miami did.
Sorry, go ahead.
They did not have a shot on target in Miami until the 35th minute.
No, and in fact, in that first half, they only had the one shot.
Yeah, and
2 shots in game. That's it.
That was from Lionel Messi, but it went right at Yohei Takaoka.
And it was from well outside the box. It was a decent corner, but well out. I mean, it's one of those ones that was going through traffic. If it starts ping-ponging around, things can happen. But I would say there was not a poor shift put in by anyone in this match. Tate Johnson. How many times are we going to keep talking? I did not think we were going to be. He has more minutes already this season than I thought he would have in the entire season.
Yeah,
and he is continually showing up, playing a very simple game, a very good game. Last night, he was told the winger on your side is going to be Lionel Messi. And what do you say to a 19-year-old fullback who 4 months ago was in college?
Yeah,
Did the
Four
job.
months ago, he was preparing for exams, and I'm sure that those made him nervous. But a few months later, trying to defend arguably the greatest player of all time. And I asked Johnson about this in the mix zone yesterday. I asked him like, were there any nerves that you were gonna go up against Lionel Messi, or was it just business as usual but with higher stakes? He said there are a little bit, but at the same time, it's a bit any game there are nerves, and especially with a game like that. But credit to the kid, he handled it well, and I mean, I was worried that he would get caught ball watching around Messi, but when Messi was near the ball, he was there.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that he's been guilty of before. Even in the St. Louis game that was on the weekend, he was
Yep.
caught ball watching, which did lead to a goal. Thankfully, it was chalked offside. But I think that's just part and parcel of him growing into the professional game and learning it. It's much quicker than he's used to. He's still playing with brand new teammates. I mean, you got to remember, he's only been a part of this squad for, I don't know, 15 matches, including CONCACAF and MLS. That's it.
Yep.
I'll put it this way. If MLS actually looked at defenders when it came to individual awards, this guy would be up there for Rookie of the Year. But defenders never get noticed, so it's not going to happen.
Yeah, you gotta give love to the defenders, and
That's
especially a fullback. That's a really tough position for
especially in the modern game with how much fullbacks
running.
Are to run, how far up the pitch they're supposed to be, how much more of an offensive threat they're supposed to be as compared to, say, what the game was 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, and there was a lot of worry when Sam Adekugbe got injured against LA Galaxy, but right away, Tate Johnson has gotten rid of those worries. And it's hard to take him out of the starting lineup right now.
You can say the same with Idier Campo on the other side, too. And him being able to move seamlessly for Laborda.
He and Rios, the overlap on that right side was really working on the transition because that's what the Whitecaps were, that was their tool last night against Inter Miami. And
in the first half, Rios did come off at the break with Sabi coming on. The one thing I will say, and I noticed it a few times, if I had to pick a bit of a criticism, is playing two number nines, but you're playing also a number 9 that you're wanting to move out as a winger. There were a couple of occasions where balls are coming in, and we did see Rios and White pretty much trying to stand on the same patch of grass.
Yeah.
Not needing to fight against one another, but because, they're both used to playing that position, it ended up inadvertently happening.
Yeah, and there were a lot of balls into the box, but no second man as well, which was something we haven't really seen. We've seen a lot of second men in the box this season, but not as much last night.
Although when it happened,
until later in the game.
Okay, we're on the same page there.
Yeah, but Eddie Ocampo just all over the place, battling Jordi Alba and company. And especially at the end, that tackle, forgot who it was on, just inside the box. Brilliant tackle.
Yeah. Let's talk about the first goal, Brian White.
Oh, this is beautiful. Transition by the Whitecaps. So Berhalter teed it up for Pedro Vite. Yeah. This is just beautiful. One touch cross, and guess who's there? Brian White heads it past the goalkeeper.
And he does it in between the center backs, I believe.
Yeah, up like a salmon, as we all say. And that's what he does. Brian White and headed goals, inevitable.
Yeah, a beautiful goal. I think you have to you have to talk about Pedro Vite and what he's been able to do with elevating his game this year.
Yes.
I really, really hope this player is still a Whitecap beyond this summer, because they got to figure out this player's contract.
Yeah. If they want to extend him, by all means.
If they do, right? Otherwise, I don't know. I feel like it's either you extend it or you have to figure out what sort of value you can get for a player like this in the summer, because if you wait until the fall, it's too late. right? He's
And
there's going to be so many teams looking at him. The rumor is how many teams are looking at him right now. We know it's rumor, but
Roma and
where there's
Panathinaikos.
smoke, there's fire.
And given, Messi, Inter Miami, they're huge on a global scale.
Yeah.
Thousands, millions of people, especially in Europe, are watching this. Scouts, even.
Yeah.
Hope they looked at Pedro Vite.
I would be very surprised if they didn't. Goal number 2, 85th minute, Sebastian Berhalter. This guy does not get that many goals. I think he had 4 last season, and that was the most he ever had.
They were all bangers. Yeah,
they're all bangers, all of them.
Big credit to Jaden Nelson,
Yeah.
off the bench, coming back from his hamstring injury. He said it felt really good, and he was itching to get on.
Yeah.
Last night in the mix zone, so he goes into the box. The pass misses White, the pass misses Sabby, but I don't know. Like, Inter Miami's defenders forgot about Berhalter, and he just, I don't know, just shot it into the net. It felt like the netting would rip off with that shot.
But it wasn't just Nelson. It was the play in the build-up to the goal that was coming down the right. The switch of play between Ngando and Sabi. Both substitutions. And let's talk about Sorensen and getting his subs right. I mean, Sabi and Ngando, both on. Them building up, playing, almost like a version of 1-2s up the pitch to get it to Nelson, who was another sub.
Yeah.
Him putting the ball back across, and you're right, Sabi cutting in from behind to try and get the ball, and it goes by him. But the second man in, Sebastian Berhalter.
Yeah, and Berhalter, third man in a way.
Really pretty much, right?
Think about it. And Nelson, I was just watching it back. He made a beeline to the right side when Ngando played the ball. Like, in 1 second, he was there.
Yeah.
And I asked White about how they adapted to the transitions last night, and he said, we got a lot of speedsters on this team, and he cited Nelson as one of them. Because that guy, like, he got speed.
Well, we've seen what he can do. Oh, I mean, he broke out in emphatic form in his very first game with us, right?
Yeah.
Pace has never been a problem for the Whitecaps. Size maybe has.
Maybe.
But adding a player like Rios, does give you a little bit of that. Rios had a very good chance actually in the first half off a corner. That was unfortunately not enough power on the header, but it was right on net. It was a good opportunity. Just
Speaking
good all around game. It was a good all around game. It was a game that they had to adapt to, without much planning, because what they would have seen with Columbus, it was a bit of a different team or a different game plan coming in with Inter Miami this time. The crowd, best attendance in the MLS era, 53,800 and change.
37, yeah. Oh my. If you were at the game,
audience in the 51-year history of the Whitecaps, and the only reason they'll never beat number 1 or number 2 is because of the reconfiguration of BC Place for the 2010 Olympics, which means you don't have enough seats in there to ever beat those.
Yeah, if you were at BC Place last night, well done to you.
Yeah.
I've never heard that stadium that loud last night, and I was probably the best crowd at a Whitecaps game I've ever been at any event rather at BC Place, whether that be a concert or a Lions game. But yeah, just from the get-go, the crowd was into it, and when White scored, it felt like the roof would blow off.
Absolutely. I was in that building for the dress rehearsal of the opening ceremonies for the Olympics, and I mean that was loud, but it was still a test. I've been in that building for concerts as well.
Yeah.
This is.
I don't know if I kind of wish I had a decibel meter last night. I did bring my earplugs.
I had my hand on the table at one point, and the table was vibrating.
Yep, it was. I can feel it.
Yeah.
And just well done to the crowd last night. And Nelson spoke about it. He said, I wish it was like this every game.
You have to wonder how many of the fans that came that are
Messi
casuals,
fans or
or they
casuals.
came for Messi. Absolutely. How many of them were converted?
I hope it
You
was a
have to
lot.
think with the spectacle that was put on, there's more than a few.
And I hope the casuals or Euro snobs or whatever think, maybe this Whitecaps team is not the same Whitecaps of years past. Look at the way they play.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go to a future game where the tickets are cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I mean, if this doesn't convince them, I don't know what to say because we said time and time again that this team is special. This team is different. And last night really showed that. And Vancouver, you got to back this team because, man, they are making history right now.
The one thing I will say, this is halftime.
Yep, this is only the first leg. Let's not forget that. Next leg is in
So,
Miami.
and that's going to be very, very different. Miami got punched in the teeth. So they're going to be looking to not only get back into this match, but get into it very, very quickly. What's going to be very interesting is next week is that first 15 minutes, right? Weather the storm and then start slowly building into your game. Because if you start to try and play that game right from the beginning, it's going to be so open, and I don't think you're going to be on the right side of it, especially now that you're the visitor.
Yeah, and Javier Mascherano last night spoke to the media, and he said, "Yeah, they're going to go all out, nothing to lose."
He's right.
In front of their home team. Yeah, because you
The
could tell like
thing,
they were really disappointed with the
this is not the Inter Miami of last year. You even take a look at what they've been doing in the transfer window, kind of that just closed yesterday, and how they
more on
seem
that
to be
later.
stockpiling all this GAM, but not doing anything with it. They've gotten rid of a number of players, and yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
We'll talk about it later, but I have questions, not necessarily of what Inter Miami is doing on the pitch. We've talked about it already, but what they're doing off of it as well.
yeah. Well, there's still the summer for them to
There
figure it
is
out.
still summer. No, that's very true, and they can come back. And they can pull a. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe sign Kevin De Bruyne. That's heavily rumored. Because if
I'll never
yeah,
understand discovery rights.
it's so stupid. And we got to shout out Tristan Blackman
Yeah.
and Ranko Veselinovic. We talk time and time again that they're one of, if not the best center back duos in MLS, and they really showed that last night. I mean, you had the stats on Blackman, like unreal.
Yeah. These two are also the elder statesmen of the back line. They're not only doing their job, but they're helping their respective fullbacks on either side, who are very, very young, very, very energetic, can on occasion get caught out of position. But we're seeing them, sweeping in behind a little bit when their fullback needs a little bit of extra support. It's interesting because they've played a lot more games together than I think we would have expected, especially with Halbuni and Utvik, dealing with various injuries and whatnot, and even sickness in parts of the earlier parts of the season. But you can't even get those two guys in right now. Not with how well these two are doing. We talk about how exciting the Whitecaps are going forward. They're a very, very defensively solid team. I believe last night, and someone can check me if I'm wrong, but out of all games so far, I think that was Takioka's 6th clean sheet.
I believe you're right. Might have been a bit more.
There was only 2 shots on target
for Inter Miami. Yeah, and he saw them all the way.
Yeah. Again, just very, very simple. And Ustani did not look confident.
He did not.
In between the other stuff.
He's Miami's backup. Calendar's fit, but he was on the bench.
Yeah. But Ustani did not look. There was one point where Brian White pressed him and almost got the ball away from him.
Yeah.
Like he actually got a touch on it.
Yeah, and Ranko Veselinovic, I think he had the game of his life last night.
Yeah.
I think that was the best game I've ever seen him play as a Whitecap, and he's had many.
He's been one of my favorites to watch for a number of years. I think he is. You forget how young he is when you think of how many games he has played for the Whitecaps. He is currently the longest serving Whitecap on the squad right
which
now.
is bizarre because I remember when he first arrived as like a 20-year-old
Yep.
on loan.
Yeah.
And you talked about the lack of size the Whitecaps have. Ranko has size.
He does,
So
but he's only just a touch over 6 foot, I believe.
yeah, but he used his size to his advantage against Messi because Blackman, Johnson, Kubas, they were surrounding him like a wall.
Yeah.
Every time he had the ball.
He was still able to find his ways through. But you talk about, let's say, the big four. Messi made his presence known. It didn't pay off, but he made his presence known.
Busquets Suarez, I barely.
I'm going to get to Suarez, but Busquets was present. I wouldn't say that he really did anything that wowed me. Same with Alba. I mean, again, Suarez was invisible.
The only time I really noticed him was when he fell on the pitch.
I mean, if you take a look at comments from Inter Miami fans, there's not a lot of love for Suarez right now.
Yeah, he was invisible against Columbus too.
Yeah. The only time I noticed him is when Tristan Blackman dropped him.
Yeah, and he stayed on the pitch.
Yeah.
It's classic Suarez.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
the only thing I thought is you might end up seeing Tristan Blackman with a bite taken out of his arm sometime later in the game.
Yeah. I was thinking, Branko, Tristan, you got to be careful because he might bite you.
Pretty much.
And the turf. I mean, we talk a lot about that a lot. That definitely played a factor. Because Miami's passes were not connecting, and Messi and Suarez, they weren't connecting either. There's one point where Messi's pass missed Suarez, and they were barking at each other.
They've played on turf before.
But not this kind of turf.
Not this kind of turf. But I do not believe they were unable to adapt to how quick the ball moves.
Yeah. There were times where
when passes were missed, they were missing it consistently by being in front of the player, overshot.
Yeah. There were some instances where Messi had a clear chance, but the ball was too quick for him.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting. Second leg next week. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and also should mention that Blackman almost saved a goal, but in the first half where Messi just got around the defenders, but Blackman was right there before it could deflect off anyone and go in.
Absolutely.
And just also the referee, he was really letting a lot go.
Yeah. In the second half, his whistle came out a little bit more, and there were a few calls that he made that it surprised me because of how much he had let go previously. But this was a very physical match. It was, and you're right, it was a match that a lot was just left to play on both sides.
Yeah, and Redondo, I mean, got a yellow in the first half, but there were times where I thought he'd be sent off.
You can't grab a guy like that and throw him to the ground.
Yeah,
that should have been a second yellow.
Yeah, and nearly got.
Don't get me wrong, Blackman coming in there late, you're never going to look like the good guy. His was a deserved yellow as well.
Yeah, you can't shove a guy like that.
Yeah, Redondo should have been given a yellow in the first place.
Yeah, just I mean, that guy was he got away with it. And
he was taken off by his coach a few minutes later.
Yeah,
I think he knew, right? His number was tagged.
Mascherano knew. And yeah, just all around physical, it's CONCACAF game. And another stat for the ages, Andres Kubas, when he plays against Lionel Messi, undefeated, and Messi still hasn't scored.
Whether it's Whitecaps or Paraguay, right?
Yeah, I mean, Kubas has faced Messi before. He knows the stakes, and the two of them were even chirping each other in Spanish.
I love how that clip was going around.
Yeah, and Kubas, he did media, and he said, yeah, it was, really nothing. Just...
he was angry about what it would sound like a supposed foul, and I think Kubas just said, play the game.
Yeah, that's how I read that. Yeah. And I was talking with the Daily Hive guys Noah Strang and Rob Williams at halftime. We were talking about how the Whitecaps always fold when the lights are too bright, when there's a big
Yeah,
crowd in the past. Last night, they did not. They did the opposite. They shone brighter than the
yeah.
lights. And that proves that the days of old of the Whitecaps are ending or have come to an end. And this is a new era. This is a different team. And this is a team that deserves the support of the city.
I wholeheartedly agree.
And last night was a game for the ages, a game you and I will never forget being there. And maybe in 20, 30 years' time, I'll tell my future children, if I ever have children, yeah, I saw Lionel Messi live and the Whitecaps beat him.
Not bad.
Yeah, and
To talk about the other match that happened yesterday in this Cruz Azul and Tigres 1-1 draw. So nothing has been decided there.
yep.
It's still wide open.
And I was searching on the Whitecaps Reddit before I went to bed last night. I barely got any sleep anyway. Um, there is a chance the Whitecaps host the final, but it's determined on points.
Slim.
It's slim. The
Yeah.
Whitecaps would have to win, I think, by at least 2 more in Miami, and Cruz Azul and Tigers would have to be very low scoring.
Yeah, it would have to be within like a goal. And I actually thought that the Whitecaps were going to have to score more than a goal differential of 2 to make it happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way I see it is in this competition, the Whitecaps played their last home game.
Yeah, but you never know.
You never know.
Stranger things have happened more. But yeah, just great game, great atmosphere. One that you and I and Whitecaps fans will never forget. But before Miami next week, it's off to Minnesota to play Minnesota United.
Yeah, Minnesota has done well this season, sitting on 16 points, tied for second in the Western Conference, tied for, I think it's no, I think there are a few teams on 19, but they've been kind of bitten in their last couple of matches. 2 0-0 draws leading into the match on the weekend.
Yeah, and Daniel O'Shea had a good start to the season. Last couple games, quiet. Yeah, 0-0 against FC Dallas and Toronto FC. Who, by the way, Toronto FC got their first win of the season against RSL of all teams.
Finally.
And Minnesota's last win was a 2-1 away win on April 6th at New York City FC.
Yeah. Not a team to be taken lightly. They've only lost 1 match all season. But same number of draws as they have wins, 4 apiece. Again, it's an away win. I think this is going to be a more difficult, on paper, I would say this is a more difficult match than the St. Louis game.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think it's also going to be a bit of a different Whitecaps showing up to Minnesota. They're going to be a little bit
especially
tired.
with the fatigue.
Yeah, they're going to be a little bit more tired. But my hope is that they're still riding the high.
Yeah, that's what I hope too. And it's hard to shift the focus after a game like that, but that's what they got to do. That's what professional athletes and coaches got to do. They got to find a way to, beat Dane St. Clair. And I think ever since Minnesota came into the league, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the Whitecaps have won there. Wait.
I'm not too sure.
Wait, they did last year.
Did they?
Yeah, they did last year.
Okay.
Barely, though. And yeah, that's a tough place to play. Good atmosphere always at Allianz Field in Minnesota. And got to be wary of, obviously, Daniel O'Shea, who we know all about.
Mm-hmm.
Be good for Canada if he scores, but not for the Whitecaps.
Any other team. Other team.
Of course, we're familiar with Michael Boxall, who's like last year, I believe this year too, he's up there with Ranko Veselinovic in clearances. Yeah, most clearances. Calvin Yoboa as well, Will Trapp, Robin Laud in the midfield. So they're good players on Minnesota. And Minnesota is a team that I, heading into the season, thought would be in like the 4th to 6th spot. You never know. They could finish higher.
Where they are right now.
Yeah, that's more or less where they are right now. So it'll be
They're in
interesting to see
third. Yeah.
kind of lineup the Whitecaps put out against Minnesota. This is at noon Pacific on Sunday.
Yep.
This was originally supposed to be at 5:30 Pacific on the Saturday, but obviously for the Miami game, it had to be moved. So
And with this game, Josh and I will be splitting duties. So I'll be covering the Minnesota game,
yeah,
while Josh will be taking in the home opener at Swangard.
yeah, I'll be at Swan Guard for the Vancouver Rise's first game there. More on the Rise later, and uh, hopefully the Whitecaps get some more road points, stay undefeated on the road.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough though, because Minnesota, good team, and after Minnesota they fly. They don't come home. They fly right to Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. There's
Smart.
no point. It's like Miami coming here from Columbus, right?
Yeah, though Miami did fly home, which
they did. That's right. They flew home to do like a tree planting or something.
I mean Turf Day, but still.
Yeah.
And Miami, they flew home last night.
Yeah. I'm not surprised about that. I you know what? Actually, when I left BC Place and I walked by where the buses come through, and there must have been well over 100 people there chanting Messi's name, wanting to get a glimpse of the bus with the team leaving.
Yep. Well, that's what Aura does. That's what Superstardom does.
Yeah. All right, that's the games. Let's move on because the transfer window shut last night as well.
So no activity for the Whitecaps,
Nope.
Not until the summer. I'm not surprised, not disappointed, especially given the way the Whitecaps are playing.
Yeah, we know that they're in the market for certain players. I think the summer is going to be a little bit more pressing. I think Pedro Vite is going to be the big question
That's
mark.
a huge factor. Yeah.
Whatever he does is going to dictate what the Whitecaps do in the summer transfer window.
And Axel Schuster, I can't remember where he said this. Might have been the radio 650, but he said certain players have really stepped up, and that kind of changed their plans.
Yeah,
which not surprised at all. And we'll have a few more months to think about plans, and I'm definitely sure Axel still wants midfielders, especially given Pedro Vite's question mark.
At least one. One. With Vite, and the thing is, they still have a DP slot open. Still a U.
If they go with the
they go with the 3, right? It depends on which avenue they go, but there's chances. Do you want to talk about some of the moves that did happen?
Yeah. Regarding former Whitecaps, by the way, this one I did not expect. This one I thought he was going to China because he's been heavily rumored, but I guess that deal fell through. So Ryan Raposo stays in MLS, and he's reunited with Thomas Hasal and Mark DeSantos at LAFC.
Good for him. I like Ryan Raposo. I think he is a good squad option. I'm surprised at the LAFC move. I did not expect that to happen. I thought if anything it would be like Toronto or something like that. But I think all of us expected him to be moving to China. The noise coming from that direction of him going there, of being offered pretty much a walk-on onto the national team, and rolling out red carpets and all that, it just felt like it was all pretty much done, just needed a signature. LAFC.
Yeah. So LAFC
it'd be interesting to see how long it takes him to get up to match fitness, and then how much he actually plays.
LAFC are here actually in early May.
Mm-hmm.
May 11th, I believe. So Raposo faces former team in a few weeks. And LAFC is getting a guy who was a winger converted to a wing back, good at cutting inside, great crosser. Doesn't have a lot of pace, but a good attacking guy for depth. And someone I always liked talking to when he was here.
Absolutely. Talking about former Whitecaps, you can also talk about Julian.
He did not make the trip to Vancouver yesterday. because he's no longer a member of Inter Miami.
Absolutely.
He is a member of the Whitecaps' next opponent, Minnesota United. And I guess Mascherano didn't really favor him, barely getting any game time. I don't think he got any game time at all. And he's on the move to Minnesota.
Feel like Gressel got pipped a little bit by another former Whitecap in Fafa Pico heading over that way.
Yep.
In terms
I was
of
surprised he didn't come off the bench last night.
Yeah. I am actually surprised too. For a guy that understands BC Place's pitch, you would have thought that he would have been a great option.
And he's good at one-on-ones.
Especially with how quiet Suarez was.
Yeah. But at least Gressel, at least he's free. He'll hopefully get some game time and add some more creativity to Minnesota United. He and Daniel Lachey, I could see that. I could see that chemistry.
Yeah.
And speaking of Miami, Robert Taylor, who scored against the Whitecaps last season, was barely getting any game time too, but he's off to Austin for like over $700,000 in GAM.
Yeah. Again, Inter Miami piling up GAM, freeing up cap space. It does feel like there is a big move coming this summer that they are preparing for.
Yeah.
But I'm not necessarily a fan of how Inter Miami goes about building rosters. It feels like
I don't think anyone is.
No, but I mean, first off, like they're the flighting with the rules is very plain to see. But it also feels like how MLS clubs built rosters 15 years ago, with going after the aging players from Europe and just saying thank you for getting a guy that's 35, 36 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not necessarily a big fan of that. Other than that, not a whole lot of movement happening with the transfer window. Like we said, the Whitecaps, no movement happening there. One thing I do want to talk about before we move away from the Whitecaps, MLS pundit and former player Dax McCarty put out a list of his top players in MLS so far this season.
Yeah.
Of the starting 11, 3 are Whitecap players.
Yeah. Tristan Blackman, Brian White, and Andres Kubas. Trying to bring it up here.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring it up here too. You got it?
Yeah, I'm going to Dax's MLS page.
Yeah, it's not too far down.
Yeah. Oh, that's his career summary. Actually, no, never mind. It's on his Insta. On the Insta. Just waiting for it to load.
Other than that, other players that might poke up some names. Dane Sinclair.
Yeah.
There. Evander, who was just awarded with his own pretty big move.
Yep. Dreyer from the new guys, San Diego.
Yep.
A couple Charlotte players too. I mean, Charlotte's doing pretty well so far.
Absolutely. Charlotte and Cincinnati, what we talked about with
and Kyle Wagner, Philadelphia Union. Yeah, and there are people arguing that Kalina should have made the early best 11 instead of St. Clair. Yeah, there's an argument there.
Yeah.
I mean, Kalina, I think arguably right now is the best goalkeeper in MLS.
I mean, he's definitely up there. If you take a look
but St. Clair isn't far behind.
No.
I'll tell you that.
No. And also, if you take a look at, I'm not even too sure what goal differentials or goals against right now. I mean, it could be up there, but the Whitecaps have the best goal differential in the league. In terms of goals against, they're one of the lowest as well. So you got to think top 5. Takioka's got to be there as well.
Oh, definitely. Like, he's tied on clean sheets.
Yeah.
I believe, with St. Clair.
Yeah. There you go.
So,
last time we saw a list like this, when was the last time we saw one Whitecap player, let alone 3?
I don't think it's ever happened.
No,
Historic. Very historic. Absolute cinema.
absolutely.
So moving on. Vancouver Rise, Swangard, um, against the Montreal Roses, who beat Toronto in their first game in Toronto at BMO Field.
Yeah.
2-1. Very good defensive performance from what I saw. I didn't see much, but they were very good defensively, and their goalkeeper um, just made some incredible saves near the end.
Yeah, this is going to be a big game against again for multiple reasons. First match at Swangard for the Rise. It feels a little bit strange in the fact that this is going to be 10 days since their inaugural match.
Yeah, and they got time to prepare.
Yeah,
So they're just Anya is probably going over the film, what went well for Montreal defensively, and be interesting to see what kind of crowd. I mean, smaller venue at Swangard, and last game we saw the press be part of. Was a huge part of Vancouver's game.
yeah.
How will that affect Montreal's defensive style game?
Yeah, I think Calgary's coach, Lydia.
Bedford, yeah.
Thank you. She put it very, very well in the fact of saying we still don't know who our opposition is yet, right? We don't have any history to watch, anything to basically see how they play. So every time you're stepping on the pitch with one of these other teams, you're basically trying to play your game and then learn who your opponent is as you go in. This is going to be another one of those matches as well. Yes, they've got that one game to watch. Yes, we've learned a little bit about how the Roses play, but I still feel that the Rise have the strength to dictate the pace of the match.
Yeah.
Right? The Rise has a very, very strong midfield. And the one thing I liked in that first game, when we talked about it before, when we were reviewing the last match, was the pairings that we're seeing, right?
Yeah.
Stanton Quinn,
Stanton Quinn.
Howard Wooler, the center back pairing, right? We're seeing the pairing down the left with, oh my gosh, who was the one player that we all saw was player of the match? Wing.
Hollywood.
Thank you. Right? What she was able to do. I think they're just going to keep growing and growing from that strength.
Yep. And sorry, it was a 1-0 Montreal win over Toronto. And the goalkeeper's name is Karpenko.
Yeah.
Who made some pretty great saves at BMO Field and at Karpenko. So should be fun at Swangard. It's noontime, afternoon footy. Come out, support some local football.
Absolutely.
Local women's football. And hopefully the Rise go off to a 2-0 start. So, all right, over to Europe. An away win for Chelsea. For the first time since December, and I believe that was the game against Tottenham. If I'm correct, I'm not really too sure.
Tottenham's just handing out favors to other teams throughout the league.
Yeah. Of course, this one wasn't easy because with Chelsea, it's never easy, especially in the last few months. 2-1 win at Craven Cottage down Fulham Road, against Fulham, the original London club. So, first half, they were attacking, but nothing really much ado about nothing, as the old saying goes. A former Arsenal man, Alex Iwobi, pounced on the loose ball and beat Robert Sanchez 20 minutes in. It looked like doom and gloom. They weren't creating much despite all that possession. Same old, same old. But who scores the tying goal? A kid from Cobham. 17-year-old Tyree George. Decent strike in the box. 83rd minute. Ties the game. Game on. And then Chelsea continued to press and move forward. 92 minutes into the 6-minute stoppage time, great strike from I believe, just on the line where the box is from Pedro Neto. And I'm reading the stat here. Neto's late winner, was Chelsea's latest winning goal on record in a Premier League London derby since 2006, 2007.
Oh, okay. I was going to be like, if you said ever, I was like, that's surprising with their history.
I mean, on record, I believe that's when they started
Right.
tracking it.
Yeah, fair enough.
And yeah, the first half was not great, but second half more lively from Chelsea. Palmer looked lively, but again, still frozen in terms of goals. Jadon Sancho, ever since the Man United rumors that he might go back, and then but they'd have to pay a $5 million fee, I think he heard that and was like, "Nope, I don't want to go back there," and started balling. Hey, fair enough. If you want to stay, you got to prove that you want to stay, and Sancho's proving it because he and Neto were testing Bernd Leno, and you could tell what it meant. Like Neto pretty much ran to the away end, and he led the players. You're like, come on, let's celebrate with the fans. And unfortunately, Enzo Maresca got a yellow card, his third of the season. Like, a yellow card for celebrating a late winner, and he's suspended for the next game.
What did he do?
I don't know. I think he just celebrated and got a yellow.
Should have taken his shirt off.
Yeah, should have pulled a
Oh, Vanni Sartini.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like every time Enzo Maresco gets yellow card, he doesn't argue. He just looks confused. Because we're all confused. I don't know. You know what? If a manager gets a yellow card for celebrating a late winner, game's gone. It's utter woke nonsense. So, but despite not being the greatest game, but top 5 is still on. Chelsea are fighting for their lives, and it's not easy because Man City won. Newcastle also won, but there's still a chance because if Chelsea do not make Champions League this year, this is like the worst project ever by the new ownership and the sporting directors. Yeah. So just looking at the table right now, 6th for Chelsea, 57 points, just 2 behind Newcastle, 3 behind Nottingham Forest, and goal differential is the difference between them and Aston Villa, who they lost to Man City. Yeah. Because, of course.
Man City is slowly picking themselves back up.
Yeah.
4 wins in the last 5, I think.
Yeah. I mean, in Aston Villa, I mean, for anyone, but for Villa especially, the Etihad has been their house of horrors.
Yeah.
So, up next, should win this game. David Moyes and Everton come to town. Should win this game over the weekend.
Yeah.
Because it'll be a disaster if they don't. And in the Conference League, forgive me if I'm saying this wrong. The team from Sweden, the semifinal opponent is the Djurgårdens.
I'm going to say it's Djurgårdens. I think the D is kind of like a weird like DJ silent thing.
Yeah, Djurgårdens probably, or Djurgård. I don't even know. Forgive me. There's a longer name, but this is just the name they're known for. Djurgårdens IF in Sweden. So Tottenham got FIFA'd, FM'd, classic Spurs, whatever you want to say. I don't think it's even funny anymore. This is just sad. Even as a rival.
Every week. This game, okay, 2-1 loss to Nottingham Forest. And you know what? Nottingham Forest, they've been a great
Didn't do us any favors.
Yeah. Good on them. They've been doing great this whole season. To be where they are is not where this is where you expected Nottingham Forest to be in 1980. Right?
Yeah.
They had 2 goals in a game that they had an XG of 0.48. Hotspur.
Yeah. What was it?
Spurs had 1 goal with an XG of 2.14.
Oh,
The
I
shots
was
were
close.
22-4 for Spurs. They had 465 passes compared to the 165. 300 difference. This, on paper, this game was a tilted pitch in the favor of Tottenham, but they could not get the job done. And
Yep.
I'll tell you right now, the reason they couldn't get the job done is Vicario. Allowing an absolute howler to get in.
Did his best.
This is
Sanchez
a team
impression.
that just looks bereft. Like they can't figure it out.
They're on the beach in the Premier
even
League.
getting I mean the Premier League's done. Like there's absolutely nothing that can change either. Yes, they could increase their places. They could still finish 17th. I mean, West Ham is only a point behind them.
Yeah.
Never in my life, with the brand new stadium, with the size of this squad, with the players that they should have, there's no excuses anymore. And yes, I get it. They have been killed in injuries more than any other team. They've been playing with, the reserve team as front players. It's over an entire season. You don't have the excuse. You got to find a way.
Yeah, and Postecoglou, he looks like he doesn't want to be there anymore.
No, he looks like a man that's just counting down the days. I hate to say it.
He looks like please sack me.
You know what? For them, it's going to be the saving grace is Europa League. So they're heading into the semifinals in Europa League against FK Bodo Glimt.
And I saw a picture of their stadium.
Yeah.
It's like a quarter of Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Oh yeah, it's tiny.
Don't remember.
Well, I mean, this is a team in the I think it's the Norwegian Elite Serien.
Yeah.
Is that?
Something like that.
Yeah. Their season has just started. They're only 3 games into their season. So, I mean, this is a team that, is still trying to figure themselves out. Doing okay. They're sitting in 5th right now, but they haven't lost. They've got 2 wins and a draw. The 4 teams ahead of them all are on 3 wins. So you can't really read too much into it. But it's a team from Norway.
Yep.
You should be doing this. You should be winning.
But, Tottenham, Dr. Tottenham.
But I will say this. I would laugh out loud if Tottenham ends up winning Europa.
Fully.
And through that, getting a spot into the Champions League, where you guys are fighting for, top 4, top 5.
Well, we're fighting for our lives.
You don't get it, right? Like how?
Yeah. And it would be so funny.
Europe magic.
It would be so funny because you know why? Postecoglou would be the most successful Spurs manager in 20 years or whatever it has been.
2008 Leagues Cup is the last time Spurs won. So, or the last cup of any.
That was against Chelsea.
Yeah. So, I don't know what do you want me to say about this team? Like seriously, they go to Liverpool tomorrow or on the weekend. They'll lose. Liverpool will win the title. Liverpool only needs 1 point in order to secure it. The season's done, and let's just.
It's just dead.
But here's the thing.
Crawl to the finish.
If they win, and it's an if they win Europa, does Postecoglou stay?
That's what I'm asking.
Does he want to stay?
Does he want to stay? Does Daniel Levy want him to stay?
Rumor is that Levy is actually pushing to get Pochettino back. Well, Pochettino's
but he's
not coming back. Not right now.
Not yet.
Not
too
when
busy in the US.
They're about to go into a World Cup with the United States.
If Levy wanted Pochettino back, should have hired him back in 2023.
Yeah.
Instead, he went to Chelsea.
I'd love to have him back, but it's not happening for a year and a half, 2 years.
Until the World Cup's over, at least.
Yeah, that's it. So, this team hurts me.
Yeah, the life of Spurs. Shout out to Felipe Vallejo, friend of the show. We were talking about Spurs in the press box with him.
Yeah.
Before the game last night, and it would be so funny if Spurs win it and Postecoglou gets sacked, and he's like the most successful manager they had since 2008.
I think if he wins it, you have to let the decision be his.
Yeah.
Because for as bad as they've done in the league, this guy won you a trophy, something that no one else has been able to do.
It was so funny. They finished 16th and won a trophy.
Not only that, but I think I think if you're going after Postecoglou for this, you have to go over to recruitment and management, and Daniel Levy has to look at himself in the mirror.
Yeah,
I mean, he should have been doing that years ago, but
long overdue. Yeah. So
there's a lot of question marks.
yeah. So big news also. The party's over at Leicester. I mean, not just because they're relegated, but Vardy is leaving Leicester after 13 years.
Wow.
Which is just
I mean, this is a guy who got promoted with them, won the league, won a handful of other trophies, got relegated, stayed with the team, got them back promoted. This is the guy.
I thought he would die in a Leicester shirt.
So did I.
I thought he would stay there until he retires.
Where Jamie Vardy goes now.
That's what I'm
wondering. I don't know where he goes.
Because to see him not in the blue of Leicester City is going to be weird.
Let me put it this way. He can't play for another team in the Premier League.
No.
He can't. Right? He's too Leicester through and through. So
can't play for another team in the Championship too, because he's going to face them.
Yeah. So
where does he go? MLS?
Saudi Arabia?
Well, he says the guy loves to party. I doubt he'd want to go to Saudi Arabia.
Is that him or his wife? Yeah. I don't know. Right now, I there's not really any rumors of where he's going right now, but you got to think that there are suitors lining up.
Yeah, I mean, he
still talked about he is hungry to play. It's just going to be a matter of where.
How old is he? Like 33, 34, 35?
I think he's like 35. I want to say 35.
Yeah, and I'm going to miss the antics. I'm going to miss the
38.
Oh, God.
38.
That's older than I thought.
If
I were him, I'd just retire. But I'm not him.
This is a number 9 at 38.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Pro League.
He's going to go. He's going to sign a 2-year deal. He's going to play 1 year of it, get paid, and be done.
And then use all that money to party after retiring.
Yeah. I can't see a 38-year-old striker going to MLS.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I could be completely out, but I'd be disappointed if that happened.
Yeah, I know. I can't think of a team that really needs a striker right now that could afford his wages.
They're
in MLS, rather.
There is a certain Texan team that could use one.
I don't know.
A Texan team that's looking for a number 9 DP, but I don't think this is the answer.
No, that's what I'm also saying and thinking. As well, I'm going to miss the antics. I'm going to miss the fact that he actually learns the languages of his opponents just to banter them. He actually does that. He did that to Tomiyasu.
Okay, that's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, he learned a bit of like Japanese banter words and bantered him.
You know what? At that point, you would just be like, all right, good on you. Like, I don't even care what you said. Just the fact that you're able to say it. Good on you.
I believe Tomiyasu felt the same way.
Yeah. Like,
the Japanese,
I'm not even angry. I'm more impressed.
For some reason, the Japanese love it when you even just speak a few basic sentences in their language.
Well,
I don't know what it is, but that's from what I experienced.
No, it's if you make the effort. I remember traveling through Southeast Asia years and years ago, and just making the effort to try and learn a little bit.
Yeah,
it changes the demeanor of people that you're interacting with, right? Because a lot of times people are able to speak English to you, but if you're trying to make an effort to go the other way, at least a little bit, it makes how they treat you so much different, and it just makes everything else more enjoyable. So, I fully
saying that. Just saying something like "ai nan desu ka?" Oh, Nihongo dozo. That's just still, I find that really funny.
Yeah.
And one thing, my favorite Vardy memory, other than the partying, there's a clip of him before a game against Southampton. It's like 2016, 2017. Van Dijk was still playing in Southampton. So Kasper Schmeichel was shaking hands, giving all fist bumps, hugs with his Danish teammate. And Vardy was like, ooh, Danish friends. And then Schmeichel said back to him, ooh, English friends, which is a reference to the famous, ooh, friend, ooh, football friend from the In-Betweeners.
Oh, that goes over my head.
Oh, yeah. By the way, if you haven't seen the In-Betweeners, it's on Amazon Prime. It's freaking hilarious.
There you go.
Yeah, ooh, football friend. So that's my favorite Vardy memory. And it's going to be weird to see him not play at Leicester.
It will be very strange. Absolutely.
Because that man lives and breathes Foxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one last thing here. Leeds and Burnley are back on top.
Yep. Heading back to the Premier League.
Back to the Premier League. And hope maybe they stay up this time. I don't know. You never know.
Yeah.
But
Burnley, it's been a while since we've seen them back in the Premier League. I can't remember
last year.
Time.
Last year.
Burnley?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. My mistake. Leeds, yes, but yeah, I forgot about that. Still waiting on who is going to win that third spot. Obviously, the third spot's going to go to a playoff. We have Sheffield United, Sunderland, Bristol City, and Coventry. And possibly they could sneak in. You've got Middlesbrough and Millwall, but I think it's gone. But Coventry City,
What
Bristol City. I mean, Coventry is one of the original members, aren't they?
I think they might be.
From like way back when?
Yeah.
The story of Sunderland. How amazing would it be to see Sunderland back in the Premier League after so long being out? And not only that, but to have another like Northeastern team to, well, I mean, they're not going to be punching Newcastle anytime soon, not with the money they have.
Newcastle will be punching them.
I mean, just to be back.
We need that Northeast rivalry.
I need Sunderland till I die to do a documentary with them getting back up, not being relegated twice.
Yeah. And then my love for Frank Lampard, I'd like to see him manage back in the EPL. And he's done a good job.
Say what you will about Lampard with Coventry City. He's done well.
Yeah, but Bristol City also. Interesting.
Yep.
Simon Fudge, I believe he
is big on.
Yeah, I mean, he wears the hat in the press box.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the championship playoff race is more entertaining than the Premier League title race. I mean, that's pretty much over anyway. And for Chelsea fans, more rivalry, more heated stuff with Leeds next season. Because that's a rivalry that goes back into the 70s.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, yeah, a lot to talk about this week. Like 45 minutes on the Whitecaps, but that's understandable. So, hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you for everyone who's tuning in live and also listening on the podcast feed. Follow me on Twitter, JoshuaRay00, Nathan and Derek. Also at Blue Sky, to search our names. Terminal City FC on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube. We'll be back next week after the Miami second leg, and hopefully more fun stuff to talk about. And yeah, check out our writing covering Whitecaps, Rise, all things soccer for Area 51 Sports Network as well. And check out the rest of the articles regarding the Stanley Cup playoffs as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun games in the NHL. I mean, not for you, unfortunately.
Depending on who you support.
If you're a Leafs fan, man, if they blow this, it'll be a choke for the ages. I mean, there's no way, right?
No, I think the first season or first series for them at least is taken care of.
Yeah. So, yeah, that concludes this week's episode. Enjoy the football, enjoy the hockey, but mostly the football. And we'll catch you next week. Peace out.
Take care.